Good day, everyone. Welcome. Looks like I'm going to be on my own today for this for the start of our Q&A session anyway. I heard from Sue that she's having some computer trouble, so she might be jumping on in a little while. I don't see any comments or questions yet, so I guess it's all up to me. Oh, good morning, Carmen. I guess it's up to me to start where I want to go with today's inquiry. And gosh, there's so many different areas that we could go in, but I'm being called to talk a little bit about grief. I had a very profound dream last night about grief, and I sense there's a lot of collective grief coming to the surface right now. Let's have a look and see what the guides want to tell us about what that's about and what we can do to support ourselves and each other in processing this grief. You know, I mentioned in my soul sampler on Sunday. Hi, Garden Hoe. Hi, Lisa. I mentioned in my soul sampler on Sunday that we may find some very angsty energy this week and that we needed to just keep going. And, I remember hearing that quote, if you're going through hell, keep going. Don't get stuck there. So I've been experiencing that in my own life this week. Well, I mean, we've all been experiencing it for quite a while now. But what I'm noticing is that it isn't lasting very long if I don't get attached to it, if I don't start telling myself, oh no, here we go, I'm going down into this despairing place. If I just hold space for that, and even in the moment, it doesn't feel very good, but energetically, I'm finding my way back to open hearted peace, balance. Hi, Angela. And I'm finding my way back faster and faster, and I'm staying in those funks for shorter and shorter and shorter periods of time. So to me, this is something that's come up in readings this week. Yeah. So here we are. This is us, Six of Cups. What does Spirit want us to know about grief right now, about collective grief, about how many people are experiencing these moments of great despair? And what do we do to support ourselves and each other going through that? Again, these are gateways, almost like you could see it like momentary initiations. Yeah, the past, huge healing. So again, this is what I've been seeing. It's showing up on a lot of the channels that we are in a way ahead of the game with our transcendence, our healing, our inner transformation, our inner healing journey. And when you get to, I remember hearing Louise Hay's quote about cleaning out the turkey pan after Christmas dinner, and that when you get to the real, you leave it soak and then you are cleaning it and it looks so messy just before you whisk it clean. So that's where we are. That's where we are. Oh yeah, look at that. 5 of Swords in the middle right now. So we've gone through this huge cleanse. It's like a massive cleansing, energetic cleansing, emotional cleansing, spiritual cleansing. We are coming out of that like fresh, innocent newborns in a way. And it's a frightening step back out into the world. Oh yeah, and look. It's almost like they're saying we're coming out kicking and screaming. And to me, that's the grief that's still moving through us. Yeah, look at that. 3 of Swords. Keep going. So there's the collective grief, the sorrow, and the Chariot is about sort of preparing ourselves to continue moving through that. The Chariot is in motion. It's about free will. It's about our personal missions. So the closer we get to connecting with our sovereignty, our free will, our individual, very unique mission, it's not a guarantee that you're always going to feel good, but you can find your way back into inner alignment faster and faster and move through the grief. Does that mean you don't feel it while you're moving through it? No, you've got to feel it in order for it to move. Um, Yay. Hi, Emma. Yeah, these downer feelings. And we're still all holding on. Thank you, Garden Hoe. Yeah, these downer feelings, it's been epic. I mean, I'm watching this Christmas season unfolding and feeling so much compassion for each and every one of us as we navigate from our own control panel, um, and feel out of control some ways emotionally at this time. And it brings up a lot of anger, right? If you think about, we're all going through a collective grieving process, and you look at one of the stages of grief is anger. But often after we process through that anger and feel the sorrow underneath it, what comes on the other side of that is divine inspiration. Divine inspiration is like, I'm no longer going to point the finger out there and say, it's their fault, it's that fault, it's this fault, it's the other or the other. I'm going to say, what does my grief show me about what I care about? And what tools has my spirit, the creator, put in my hands uniquely to do something about what I care about? The more I find my way into that, and there's been this message coming through the readings this last week or two as well about extending beyond our normal comfort zone of security. So a lot of people have been losing their jobs, companies have been closing, there's been bankruptcies, layoffs. I have lots of clients that work in sort of high level positions in various different corporations around the world, and so many people in the last month that I've been speaking with have lost their jobs or been laid off. So we're all feeling this like, oh my gosh, the security blanket is disappearing. And how do we navigate with confidence and enthusiasm when we feel so vulnerable and insecure? And so it's really about continuing to move the grief through us, because a lot of what we were holding on to with those security blankets was misaligned with the frequency of our, new earth and where we're going. So they had to get ripped off. They had to get pulled away. And their guides are saying it's like not having a blanket, but we kind of huddle together to stay warm right now. And that feels pretty good. That feels pretty good, because let me tell you, you're not alone. You're not alone. We're all in this. If that helps, I hope that helps. Okay. Tomorrow, the start of the winter solstice and the end of the Mayan calendar. Dreams have been vivid. Let me just look back up here. Dreams have been vivid. What are our dreams bringing through at the moment? Ooh, yeah. I have been using the elements to process and heal different levels of grief. Thank you. Thank you, Leah. Thank you, all of you. Yeah. WK from Poland. I'm saying your initials because I know I would terribly mispronounce your name. So thank you. Peace and love to all and everyone in this tumultuous time. I'm going to invite Sue in. I just see she's arrived, and we're going to look at what Spirit wants to say about tomorrow, the start of the winter solstice, end of the Mayan calendar. That's a question mark. I'm going to welcome Sue in now. Hi, Sue.
Hello.
Hi, dear.
Hi. Thank you. Sorry I'm running today.
We're all running.
Oh, fair enough. Yes. I think
We're
my
all
hair's
running.
standing up. I'm on my phone as well, so it's just a little glitchy today, but as
That's
it
fine.
goes.
That's fine. I just want to welcome you, Sue, and also to say that we're about to look at a question about the turning point we're at, which is the winter solstice. And Christian also said about the ending of the Mayan calendar, which of course most of us, oh, there she goes again. Okay, she might not she might not be here with us in the long run, but we'll see. I'm going to start shuffling about this question. We're all here together, and many of us feel like the Mayan calendar, the original prediction was December 21st, 2012. Um, which interestingly enough is 11 years ago. So yeah, it was that accurate. And
So,
hi again. It's okay.
yes, calendar, got it.
Yeah, I was just saying, is it accurate, the original date of the Mayan calendar that we've all been hearing about, which is December 21st, 2012, or are we actually at that turning point now?
Ooh,
I remember before I even pull cards on it, I remember as it was happening in different sources that I was reading from at the time, they were saying it's actually like, a, a window of time. It's not like, I mean, how do you pin down the exact moment? Because we're talking about literally, what are they? 12,000 year cycles. It's like,
right
okay, it's really right
down to
there,
the
like
day.
down to the day, the hour, the
Yeah.
minute, the second, the nanosecond, and then you go on, right? So it's likely um, a phenomena, an epoch that will be with us probably for all of us here. It's the majority of our lives. We are living the end of the Mayan calendar. We were born to be living the end of the Maya calendar our
It's
whole
twelve
lives.
twelve right now, incidentally, on my time
Where
anyway.
you are,
Yeah, it's awesome. It's,
right?
yeah. What a
Yeah.
good question, though. That's amazing. And it's so interesting. I seen somebody type something about 2012, how it really just set off women into their journey and into evolution. And now there's a lot of energy coming in for the masculine. And I think that was Alexander Quinn. So that's interesting.
Really is.
Mhm.
Okay. So, yeah, interesting. Very, very interesting. Look at that in the middle.
Okay, what does that mean exactly?
Oh, yeah. Um,
Wow.
and there we go into. So I get that I'm hearing that it's a initiatory, like 15 years or so.
Wow.
And we are at year 8.
Ah.
So it wasn't accurate the time. So if we're at year 8, it was 2015 it started.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
Hmm. And then if it is, yeah, if it's a 15-year cycle, well, 12 to 15-year cycle is what I'm hearing, and we're at year 8.
Okay.
So, a lot of us will be through this cycle within 5 years because we're kind of at the head of the pack. And then the rest of the stragglers will come in,
Hmm.
yeah, in the couple of years following that.
Yep.
So, how does that inform us? Because yeah, it's, my spiritual teacher, let's see where I can put those that you might be able to see a little bit of it. It's the Fool and the Seven of Pentacles,
Oh.
patience and faith. Um, my spiritual teacher has this phrase, miles to go, meaning like, yeah, the idea that we're almost done something almost invites chaos to create upheaval for us. When we get really confident and all like, "Oh yeah, I got this." I'm like, I nailed it and I'm almost done. And then
Oh yeah.
he calls them the last minute demons come in and like, "Oh yeah, you're feeling pretty
Oh, that's
confident, are you?"
so interesting. I always say that every time I get a little cocky and then I'm like, something happens, I'm like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah,
yep.
and it's the phenomena of the fishermen when they go out to sea, and you're never supposed to say, "Oh, fishing's great today," or "The weather's perfect." You're not supposed to, like,
Oh,
invite it's kind of like saying, "Oh, I'm so on top of this, I don't need
oh.
anything." And
Hmm.
then
And I got it in the bag, right? I got it in the bag. It's good.
mhm,
We're good.
mhm. So, it's this it doesn't mean that we're invested in constant suffering. What it means is that we're invested in constant humility. We're invested in
Mm,
not thinking we know better than nature or spirit or God. Not, it's like we're always willing to be shown that there's more to be done. And in it that's the joy of life. It isn't this moment of like, you land in eternal happiness and you never
sure.
go anywhere
On
after that.
the mountain, or you get the Olympic gold, right? And they're always like, it's the phenomenon of having like depression after making it to the top. Well, okay, now what?
Yeah, because we need to have the next mountain to climb. We need to have the next challenge in front of us. I think for a lot of us, myself for sure, at this time, I'm like, okay, I get that. I love the mountain climbing, but can I have like a nice rest? Can I go to like a retreat spot and just like relax between the climbs, please? Because it's feeling a little bit like,
Yo, oh, yeah.
like definitely feeling a bit tattered and worn. And yet,
Mhm.
that is also, they also say this, the spiritual teachers that I've studied with say that when we are at the end of the climb, or we just feel like we can't go on, that is the greatest, not only test of courage, but it's the sweetest gift
Mm,
of our life, is to make it through those tight squeezes, right? When we're just up against our own well, we've all been there, right?
oh,
When we've pushed ourselves to face the things that are the most uncomfortable, that's when tremendous expansion, growth,
wow.
and it's like a rite of passage. It's like we
Against all
graduate.
odds, right? And it's, yeah. So that, what
Yeah.
does word mean there?
Which one are you talking about?
Oh,
The devil in the middle. Yeah, well, that's, to me, that's about the initiation. That's like,
oh,
so if we talk about the Mayan calendar, and that was the 15 years, and we're at year 8.
right.
So do the math, that's 7 years to go. But most of us here will be in the clear, meaning really in the new dawn of the golden age and the age of Aquarius, within 5.
Wow.
So we're more than halfway.
Amazing.
We're more than halfway through the initiation, is what I'm hearing.
That's so encouraging.
It is. It is. And we're at the part it's a bit like a mythology too, right? And we're
Okay.
at the part of the story where the gifts show up unexpectedly.
Oh,
So you're just there like, "Oh, I can't do it." Like, I've been feeling that lately. Like,
yeah.
I know, I can't keep going." And I'm laughing about it because it doesn't last very long,
Right.
thankfully. Like I
Right.
was saying, I've done enough work that I don't stay stuck in that. That's the thing here, right? If we
Right.
get stuck in the spin cycle, that's where suffering comes in. So, and there's anger that goes with that. It's like, I shouldn't have to go through this. I'm on the right side of, God and the cosmos. I'm
Mhm.
on the, righteous truth
I
side. Like I'm a warrior. Like I shouldn't have
Yeah.
to struggle like this. And they're like, the guys are like, well, what are warriors made for?
Yeah.
It's like
Right.
you're a warrior to sit around and twiddle your thumbs. It's like, and wait for all the good things to come to you. Or you're a warrior to get out there and
Right.
like engage in.
Well, and I wonder if then if we are twiddling our thumbs, then what happens, right? Is it like, are you, like you were saying, inviting in chaos? It's like, well, that's not what you came here to do.
Yeah, I mean,
So
think about the old Puritan quote of, the idle hands are a devil's playground. It's like, so what's the difference between idle hands
Mm-hmm.
and having real sanctuary and retreat and healing? That's a good question. Like,
Well, I want
because
the
y
balance of both, right? And it's a matter of going in, not taking on too much, recognizing the body can only take so much, and
mhm,
psyches can only take so much. We can't. I
mhm.
think Dolores Cannon would say, like when all the beings were coming in to talk to her, they're like, you can't have all your meals in one day. Like, right? And I
So
would have.
it's like little, yeah, so what it's almost like they're showing me again the analogy of like a cross country race or something, or a run or endurance race, right? And
Right,
it's like if you stop for a water break and you stop long enough to really replenish, that's good. You can keep going. But if you stop too long and you lay down, you might not get back up, right?
right,
So
yes.
there's something about why are we stopping? How are we stopping?
Do you know what my when I actually did a lot of cross country in school, and we had a great coach that had us learn how to run up the hills. She had us run so hard when it came to a hill, and that's where we'd pass everybody because people didn't have the endurance to run up the hill.
Oh,
So
that's
interesting, isn't it?
interesting.
Yeah, it was like, hey, just take this as an opportunity now, and that's how we had an edge. It was really interesting.
Fascinating. So, but then how did you rest? Did you get to rest?
What? No, you don't. Well, you didn't rest. No, it'd be like, say you did like a 10K or whatever. So no, there's no resting. But then you would, you were pacing. But then when you went up a hill, that was the time to surpass everybody.
Interesting. So these different strategies, right? And they go
Mm,
with our temperaments, I feel like.
ah,
The guides are saying our strategies go with our temperaments. So, what
mhm.
works for a Sue might
Yeah.
not work for an Ashala and vice versa. Like we're geared differently and we've got to learn what works for us and what takes us out of gear, like I feel like there's a certain degree of idling and replenishing that really works for me. And then if I go beyond that, it becomes a kind of indulgent downward spiral.
Oh, interesting, because you're getting dopamine from it. This is what I'm wondering when you're saying indulgent, right? Getting a high, getting a hit off the information or whatever you're doing.
Or
And
it's just, yeah, or it's just like a checking out. It's like I'm no longer,
mhm.
so I'm asking, how do we pace ourselves? How do we give ourselves time to heal, but also not get sort of stuck?
Yes.
So interesting. This card, I've been doing a lot of readings for myself in the last few days, and I've had the Queen of Cups constantly, constantly, constantly. So this is us. We're going, we can see in the distance the new earth. You see, he's holding the earth
Yeah.
in his hand there.
Oh,
We can, like, it's a beautiful vantage point where we can see it, but we're not actually there yet. And then the question about how do we navigate without getting pulled down? We need to be able to take breaks, but we also don't want to just check out, and go despondent or go into escapism.
right.
Um, yeah, so interesting. So we've got, look at that. Look at this present cards. We had the devil in the last reading,
Ah,
the last spread. We've got the death card at the middle right now. We are right in a huge, well, I mean, all the truthers are saying, everybody's saying it. We're right in this, the astrologers are all saying it. We're in this node, like, the tightest squeeze.
wow.
And it's interesting because the guides are saying, we said that back 3 years ago or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
We're like, this is the tightest squeeze. And then
Yeah.
again, this is the tightest squeeze. And they're saying, you know, when you're in labor giving birth, every one of those contractions is the tightest squeeze that you've had yet
Right. Right.
until the next one.
If
And then it's like,
any more were to come, I don't think we'd be able to make it. We'd be like, listen, I'm done. I want an epic now, right? This is you. Oh, more, yeah. And if they were to tell you you're going to have 100 more, it's going to be 36 hours. You'd say, forget it. So they can't tell us.
That's
There's
right.
no way we would have tapped out a long time ago. No, thank you. I didn't sign up for this. Yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah.
So,
Well, and
yeah.
what I'm hearing too, death of the old, and so death is like slow, right? When you get the death card, so that's like death of old beliefs. That can't all happen at once,
Mhm,
like all
mhm.
the little things that we're ruminating, death of like, well, maybe the ego or the old way of being. I mean, that's massive, and that can't happen so fast.
It can't happen so fast, and yet interesting, because I'm asking about how do we know how to care for ourselves, but not to just go into escapism. And they're saying it's based in the feeling realm. So one of the first things that the guides sort of showed me when I was asking about it is that we take it in turns and in rounds. So it's almost like we could turn this race into a bit of a relay where we're, and I guess like I notice, we can
Oh,
invite in our friendships and our partnerships and our relationships and our family relationships, taking turns,
yep,
um, supporting each other. And
right.
literally being this, literally like a back and forth, like, okay, your turn, my turn, your turn. And they're kind of going like we take turns leaning on each other. It's a bit like the three-legged race. They're saying it's kind of like you gotta kind of
Oh,
walk together. Okay,
oh, yeah.
now we lean your way. Okay, now we lean my way. Now we lean
Yeah,
your way. So if you can find companions to share the burden of this transitional time and know that it's, as we get closer to the portals of transformation, um, it's just like transitional labor. It gets faster and faster and closer and closer. So I know, in I guess my primary relationship right now is with my daughter that I've been living with on and off for a few years now. And we're learning to literally navigate from hour to hour, sometimes from minute to minute. It's sort of like, oh, yeah, okay, you're there. Oh, okay,
yeah,
now it's me. And now
yeah,
it's you. And it's like
yeah.
this.
Like, like it's like today I have like 10%. That's all I got. If you had more, that would be great. And it's like, oh, okay, I'm good today, and kind of
And,
goes like,
and
and I
And
need to
today
bottom
could
up my stuff.
change. Like, I woke up this
Right,
morning,
right,
really, like,
right.
heavy and on a
Yeah,
really in the emotional place,
yeah,
but neither of us got attached to that. I just stayed with it, and then within an hour, it was clearing. It was like a storm passing, and then it was
yeah,
clear, and I was like, "Okay, I'm really glad I didn't go into a big story of this is gonna be a day, and it's, oh, no, what do I
yeah.
need?" And, you
Well,
know,
it was like you were talking about, like, it used to be maybe it used to be days, and now we're looking at things are transitioning quick.
hours,
Age and just
minutes.
realizing it, this will
Yeah,
pass. It's just it's a state.
it's a
It's not a
state.
permanent state. It's just a state.
It's a state. Now, I
Mm,
wanna talk a little bit about these cards that are showing up here. I'm gonna
okay.
try to make it so you can see them better. So we've got the Queen of Pentacles and the Six of Cups. Wow, what a beautiful energy. So this is basically drawing in the inner child, drawing in the innocence of the inner child. And it has a lot to do with our ability to draw blessings to ourselves,
Mm,
gifts. So the Six of Cups is like emotional reciprocity, giving and receiving, sharing, random acts of kindness, sweetness,
uh,
the inner child. And the Queen of Pentacles is the magnetic queen that draws things to her because she values herself. She's set deep in her personal value.
yeah.
So that is such a
Oh,
blessing. Like as we get more comfortable in this process and trusting ourselves, we start to draw the blessings will begin to come. And remember, I was just saying the little miracles start happening now. It's
oh,
like you're, like, thinking, "Oh, I don't have it in me," and then all of a sudden, you get another second wind, and you're like, "Oh, I didn't think I did, but I do."
Well, we got to get this baby out.
Yeah, right.
So,
Totally. Okay, and then, all right, now interesting that because I was asking, the question was really about how we navigate through these times and also how we take time out for
yep,
healing and but not getting kind of disengaged and checked out and escapism.
right.
Um, so when I see this Knight of Pentacles and the Tower, it makes me laugh. Now, I know that seems counterintuitive. It's like, look at
Yeah.
these poor people falling out of the tower. Like, that doesn't look very fun. But one of the things about the Knight of Pentacles is he's a little bit of a buffoon. He's like a hobbit. He's
He's
kind of
slow.
like
Isn't he
eh,
slow?
he's slow, he's
Okay.
methodical, he's
Okay.
on his it's sort of like what they're showing me is the hobbit in all of us is kind of going like, we're going along and then it's like, "Oh, here comes the mountainside tumbling. I guess I better turn this way."
So hang on.
Uh,
Uh,
and there's
yeah.
something humorous about it. It's like the things are falling around us, but
Right.
like the Energizer Bunny, we just keep going. And if you think about that, I like to use the analogy of the hobbit energy, which to me is like our, it's this part of our human blessing in a way that we are designed to have endurance and to, in a way, yeah, like to, if we can stay grounded, and stay in our hearts and stay in our humility, we can accomplish incredible things.
It's
Like,
the
the little
steadfast,
hobbits that get to the top of Mount Doom, like, how do they
right?
get there, right? It's like,
Right.
it wasn't a big strategy, it was momentary, like, "Uh-oh, here come the bad guys, we gotta go this way." It's like, they're
Yeah.
literally
Yeah.
going like, this feels like
But
these little hobbits, we're like these little
yeah.
hobbits going, "Oh, go over here,
Yeah.
okay, over here, oh,
Comic comedy of errors, right? You're just right.
now stop and
Yeah.
have a little drink and, second breakfast," and it's like,
Yeah. Nice.
so
Nice.
there's something, it's in a way, the answer is keep going, because that's the other thing about this Knight of Pentacles is nothing deters this character. So the tower
Right.
comes down, it's like, oh, okay, now there's a bunch of fallen down rubble. Let's build something new. It's this very slow, steady, methodical, humble, and to me, that's humor, and it feels a little bit like the old slapstick humor.
Yes. Yes. And
Why do we love that, right?
yeah, well, yeah. Why do we love it? And I think the other thing is that sometimes it comes to me too. We're taking it all too seriously. We're taking it all too seriously. It's like not that there are serious things, absolutely, but I mean, and taking ourselves too seriously, right? Where it's just
Yeah,
like loosen up and just be like, okay, we're gonna go with this, and it's keep on keeping on, being fast, you
and
know.
that slapstick, we laugh about it because it reminds us that there's the human spirit is this incredibly, like, we just don't stay down for long. Like, we pick
Right.
ourselves up and dust ourselves off. You just think about the Three Stooges, and they're always like, oh, they got knocked over, and then they're standing up, and then the thing falls down on them, and then they're getting up and brushing themselves off. And, it's that kind of thing. It's
Yep.
this, you could say, well, is that foolish? But why do we laugh? It's because it tickles something in us that is so genuine. It's like
Yeah.
we're genuinely these incredible beings that are so adaptable and so innocent in a way. That's who we really are.
It's like the child within, right? It's like the God within, the God self is like the child within that's just lighthearted, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at what we're
Next
seeing
question.
for,
So
yeah,
bring
let's look at questions. Have we got anybody
it.
coming in here?
I have something if you
Oh, I'm seeing, I heard a long time ago 2012 was postponed 12 years. Oh, yeah.
okay, okay.
And we're ready now like never before. Yeah, love it. Um, okay. Someone that said solar storm starting tomorrow will start activating our gifts sooner, some people sooner than others. Um, solar flares.
I want to know if like we're really gonna be flying. I've had dreams of flying and stuff like this life. Okay, there's that, and then there's someone asked about MMS the other day, and I as a protocol, and I started doing it again. It was really good, and then I had just had a couple of things about Christmas. So, but
Okay,
but
sure.
whatever. I got
Let's
to
go for it. Oh my gosh, Cardinal, is it too late for an epidural? I'm gonna need something to get through the rest of this.
Yeah,
Like,
I give
yeah,
just
right? Oh, the laughter has helped me transform
that
the
is
grief
good.
into pain. It's totally.
Yeah. It's like the church
Okay.
giggles. You get so stressed and then you just end up bawling laughing and it's just like it's yeah.
And is the solstice gonna elevate the collective frequency? Okay, so because we didn't really finish off about the solstice, and you were just asking about Christmas too, Sue, is that
Yeah,
right?
solstice and then yes, Christmas. So I was just listening to the Christmas story through Edgar Casey. They said he was born January 6th. And I know, right, which is interesting. And Dolores and Edgar Casey said his hair was red. Just saying. Case that was important to anybody, but the big argument was he blonde or was he dark skinned? It's like the guy had red hair.
Oh my
So
goodness. Oh my goodness.
yes,
Okay, so let's start with solstice. Is this a frequency upgrade? Um, well, interesting. Okay, so before I even lay out of actual spread on it, what I'm being shown is kind of what was coming through on my interview last week with the Freedom Broadcast Network, which is we're a bit ahead. Some of us are ahead. So we're already, actually all of this grief and all of the anger and all of the body symptoms are because we're actually a bit ahead of schedule. So we don't actually need the frequency upgrade. What we need is the integration time to begin to be able to live it outside of us. So can you feel that? Can you feel the truth of that? It's like,
I love that you say that. And can you tell us, Ashella, how to integrate? Like I had no idea I've had so much anger and it.
okay, I'm being guided to share a little bit of a personal story with this. Um, yeah, they're saying, again, if we go back to more like the hobbits as opposed to being the wizards,
Right.
uh, because we are both, but we really need to be hobbits right now to integrate. We have to be hobbits to
Yeah.
integrate.
Okay.
Um, and I
Yeah.
remember I did this phenomenal medicine journey with a plant medicine substance. We'll talk about that another time, maybe. But uh, unfortunately, I went into this particular journey asking to understand dynamics of power.
Oh,
Be careful what you be careful what you wish for.
what's your
Be careful what you call in. Like I mean, obviously I was ready for it, but it was terrifying. So
gotcha?
yeah, and it took me like some people would probably not make it out of that without
Oh,
losing it.
a word to the
So
wise, Stella. I'm glad
right?
you said that actually.
Yeah. So it's like they're saying if we keep asking for more, because I'm hearing a lot of my clients who are going, I want to ascend. Let's get this job done. Let's get it done. Like, let's get this over with. Like, can we just put it through me? It's like, be careful. Don't ask for that. Please, please don't ask for that. You don't need it to be that rough.
And do we ask for when, like, if it's deemed appropriate, if I'm ready, would that be more like,
Well, it's actually more about notice how it's already there.
oh,
Notice yourself. The
already
integration is the taking stock daily of wow, I just made it through that way better than a month ago. The integration is look at yourself 5 years ago, people. Please, like this is
feel
you're
like
you're a nothing short of a phenomena, every one of you.
right. I think that's like speaks to a little bit of our consuming and not digesting culture.
Yes.
Give me more, and we're not taking any time to digest.
Or create. I actually woke up this morning, one of my in my heavy state emotionally, one of my contemplations was about, I've thought this before, but it was about consumption versus creation. And we've
Yep.
become like whether we want to or not, I value creation and I abhor just, unconscious consumption, yet I find myself doing it anyway. Like
Right.
it's like we're in this matrix, and to be in it you end up doing these unconscious consumption things, and it takes up so much time. We consume media, we consume food and substances, we consume experiences, we consume shopping, we consume
Thoughts,
thought loops, and it's this like and what are we doing with our hands? What are we creating? When's the last time you baked your own bread or made your own piece of clothing
yeah,
or,
yep.
did a painting or wrote a song or,
Mhm.
like told a story? It
Yeah,
so this how do we integrate the frequency upgrade? We're getting the upgrade. That's why we're feeling the way we're feeling. That's why our thoughts and our feelings and our body symptoms are all over the place. The upgrade's happening. It's the integration that you need to pray for and how to listen. Spirit says, okay, this moment, take time to do this. The next moment, is there a creative inspiration coming in? Maybe you want to put your agenda aside and say, I'm going to change my plans and or give myself, you know, creative days. Because that's what they're saying. It's like we've become even our
yeah.
time off is based on consumption, right? I know I'm guilty of it too. It's
Sure.
like, okay, I've got a day off. I'm going to end up at some point either going to, shopping, even if it's at the grocery store and just wandering around the aisles looking at everything, just like it just
Mhm.
feels good to not be on, right?
Yes. Yes. The thrift store is that for me. It's like, well, it's a thrift store. Like I'm
Yeah,
doing
and yeah, it's like, but I
the
could just
little
zone
shop.
out for like 2
Yeah.
hours because
Yeah.
I'm just like, and then
Yeah.
it's like, and the same with media, right? Like whether I'm watching someone else's channel or I'm watching some inspiring documentary or something, it's
Right.
still, I'm just like kind of like zoning out and consuming.
Yep.
And it's very different when I can say, okay, even playing a game with my family or like going out skating or tobogganing or something, or like
Yep.
it's creating an experience instead of
Yeah.
consuming something.
Yeah.
That's because the more we're consuming, like you said, it's just like having all the meals at once. It's like, okay, spirit is saying you need to integrate this. You need to integrate it
So some
because
space in between, letting yourself have that nap, maybe creating if that's what you're called to do,
yeah, yeah.
right? Why don't we play a game? Something.
And a lot of people are saying, they've lost their spirit of creativity. And of course,
Or
nothing is
I'm not
lost.
creative. I know people who aren't creative. It's like, well, how'd you create to your life to this point? Like, how do you think you got here? You created it,
Mhm.
right?
I wanna just, have a look here about let's go to your next question, Sue. I feel like I've already shuffled cards on it.
Okay. Oh, my next question. Okay.
Mhm.
So, well, is there a message from the Christ consciousness about Christmas and how the Christ consciousness or how Jesus would like us to celebrate it? And you
Mm.
know what's really beautiful? Okay, so this is what's so beautiful that I love. Speaking of the matriarch, or we were talking about giving birth. So Mary in the Edgar Casey story of Jesus
Mhm.
um talked about, first it was like, let's go to Mary. Mary was an immaculate birth according to the Casey reading, and they're like, it was thought and spirit that was brought into life. Like that did happen,
Mm,
and her mother was an immaculate birth as well, her mother Anna. So this was through the lineage. And so
mm,
as a young girl, I mean, she was pure of body and heart, and then they also had her pure of mind. So massive purification. And it's
mm,
said that Archangel Michael picked Mary. Archangel Michael picked Mary to be the
mm.
mother. Isn't that incredible?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting.
So how
Mhm.
important it was of the mother to be
The
so
the the container for
yeah,
spirit.
yeah.
So, the Divine Mother as the container for the divine child of the next, like, the new earth, the divine children of new earth.
Oh,
Um, yeah, it's almost like they're saying, I'm seeing the tower here, and we have to break her out of the tower, is what they're saying.
okay.
We've gotta break the Divine Mother out. She's chained up in the dungeon, basically.
Okay. How and why?
Okay, so, um, yeah, interesting. There's the mother and child. Look at that.
Oh,
6 of swords, moving out of troubled water through continue processing, continue communicating. Okay, I don't know whose guides are here with us. I mean, all of ours are here, but there's some real character, um, kind of jokesters because
okay.
they're saying, you know, um, every time we want to indulge or consume unconsciously or escapism, they're saying, that the old little quotes about what would Christ do. They're
Yeah.
like, just try to picture Christ doing what it is you're about to do, like
Yeah.
go spend like all day in the thrift store, or it's
Right.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
right, it's
Right.
like or yeah, whatever it is, right,
He's
like.
like, really? Netflix again? Like fourth episode? Like, really? Yeah. This is what you do? Really?
Well, and it's not even about the judgment, it's more about the juxtaposition. It's like, okay, that's actually quite funny to think about that. And I remember when I was growing up and going to church, I remember it being this thing where there was a little of that, what would Christ say about how you're behaving or whatever. But what I recall is that people were like, "Oh yeah, but we're so flawed. We're all sinners.
Right.
We don't have a hope in what to be anywhere near like a Christ energy." That's that's the rub right there. That was the controlling dominant paradigm, dark force energy telling us that we weren't that and that we would never be that. We shouldn't even aspire to try to be that. And so now we're breaking through that spell and going, "No, it is totally within our reach."
It's doable. It's within us. The kingdom is
It's
within us.
totally,
Yeah.
and Christ, it's almost like they're saying it's a bit like a a psychology exercise or something, because I feel like the Christ consciousness would not just abandon us in our escapism. It wouldn't say, "Oh, forget it, you're so far, down the rabbit hole, there's no hope." They would just stay with us, present, and say, "Keep reminding us, you could choose this or you could choose that. You could choose this or that," not in a judging way, right? In a
Yeah.
in a nurturing way. And
Yeah.
there we're back to the mother. We're back to the mother.
Right.
We've lived in a patriarchal system where if you do or say the wrong thing, you get punished.
Punish and reward. Punish and reward.
Punish and reward. Whereas when we move into a matriarchal or a divine mother energy, there's always nurturing, even if you've been bad. You still get comforted, you still get fed in a good, healthy, nurturing relationship with a divine mother. You're always going to be forgiven because you're a child.
All is forgiven in the end.
All is forgiven, and but you're going to also be held accountable, and there's going to be a mirror in front of you all the time. Let's
Yeah.
say like mom has eyes in the back of her head, right? It's like
Yeah.
you're always going to be shown, "Oh, oh, yeah, I see you over there trying to steal that cookie out of the jar," right? It's like,
Did there. Yep.
so
Yep.
maybe, this whole patriarchal religion that had us under the spell of punishment and reward is shifting into a nurturing system based on the Divine Mother, like Mother Mary,
Right.
which is about, there's consequences to our choices, but even those are held with love and support. It's not like, well,
Because
you're on your own, you deserve that. What was the thing we used to hear when we were growing up? You made your bed, you lie in it.
right. I'll give you something to cry about.
Right? It's like shame, shame, shame,
Yeah.
shame, right? It's like, well, no, of course we're flawed and made all these mistakes and stuff. We're evolving
And
and
rhetorical questions. You want to lick in? Yes, I would love. Funny you should ask. Just so,
right? Right?
like,
Yeah.
let's evolve that, right? Like,
I think we've evolved a bit since then, right? And I mean, that's the other thing, is to keep that in perspective. Like, how do we free the Divine Mother from being in chains? We free her inside of us. We allow ourselves to care for ourselves like a feminine, nurturing mother will, which is, there's going to be consequences for your choices, but they're going to be held in love. They're going
yeah,
to be,
parenting. It's mothering yourself and deep compassion.
yeah.
Compa-
Oh, look at this. So the two cards of, like, um,
so women,
you were asking, what does the Christ consciousness want us to, how does it want to be celebrated at this juncture,
yeah,
this particular solstice, this particular Christmas? This is the collective consequence for the sins of our forefathers, which they sinned because they didn't know any better. They were being sort of repressed and held into a power dominant system, and the consequences continue to play out. But how we care for ourselves and each other going through these very powerful times is with joy, deep compassion. Look at that. The priestess, the divine feminine in the subconscious, and the Three of Cups, which is another feminine card about joy and celebration. So it's, we're moving away from this punishment reward paradigm mindset into a heart centered place of compassion, forgiveness, nurturing, regardless of what has been, done in the past. And there are consequences, but we're not being punished. We're not being punished, and we need to stop punishing ourselves.
well, I was gonna say, like, how much we punish ourselves, even to the point of like masochism and just beating ourselves up with
Mhm,
over and over again. This,
mhm.
right? And so,
And in a way, I'm being shown, like, Christ going into the temple and destroying all the money lenders, um, you
ah,
know, right? I'm being shown that, and this energy of almost like the Christ consciousness is saying, "Oh yeah, like this is going to continue to look really ugly because that system served its purpose, and that, what happened 2000 years ago was a foreshadow of now."
oh wow, I just got goosebumps, and I was also just thinking, Christ came in at the beginning of the Piscean age, and now this is the beginning of the Aquarian age.
And now we are all the Christ. We are the Christ. We are the consciousness. It's like, when Christ said, "I will come back," it wasn't like, "I will come back and be a figurehead to show you the way." It was, "I will come back inside of you."
Yes, he did show us the way. Ashala, one thing that I struggle with is
Hmm.
thy will be done. Not my will, but thy will.
Mm, right. Okay. So let's talk about that for a minute, because what I'm hearing immediately when you say that is, again, there's a little bit of this posturing parent child thing going on. That's the patriarchal, like, father's the head of the family and it's my way or the highway kind of thing. there's that overlay that
Okay.
the church has done, but underneath that, a more sort of pure origin of thy will be done is about source.
Yes, okay. It's let the greatest good and me be guided by the will of the
The
greatest good,
divine, the divine source. Yeah.
not my ego self.
Yeah.
Okay.
And interesting because they're saying, does the divine speak to us in thoughts or feelings?
Feeling, right?
That's the question for you to all take home and contemplate this week. That's the last statement coming through from the guides. Does the divine communicate in thoughts or feelings? Because when we say, thy will be done, does it come in as a thought or does it come in as a feeling?
Because I sometimes like it's like when I got goosebumps, it's like that just or something just felt right. That's interesting, but
Hmm.
will come in a thought, but I'm not sure the answer.
So I don't know that it's something that needs to be answered as an absolute one or the other, but we're supposed to contemplate that this week. We're supposed to take that in this week and go, because people often ask me, how do you know when you're reading where it's coming from? How do you know like the
Yeah.
authenticity, the accuracy, or are you channeling what kind of energies, what kind of entities are you channeling? How do you feel safe? How do you access the kind of information that you're able to receive and do it in the way you do it? And I want to say, if I were to answer this based on what I've learned from all my years of doing this work, it would be it's always starts with a feeling,
Okay.
and then the feeling becomes a thought.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, and if I'm having a thought and
Yeah.
it doesn't have a really strong base note feeling of correctness, like you're saying, that feeling of, that's the feeling. And basically, I feel like what good intuitives, oracles, readers, and healers do is they're able to stay in feeling frequency while they're doing their work, and that I always call it heart-centered whole brain frequency aligned with the power neutral frequency of love aligned with the greater good of all. So it's in that state. Then the thoughts come binging in from all over the place. And I'm not there going, oh, I'm channeling so and so. Everything that being, that deity, every word they utter is the absolute truth and righteous truth and all that. No, no, I don't get mixed up in any of that. I'm not paying attention to where it's coming from. I go into my heart
Oh.
and I feel the
Oh.
quality of the message. And then I let it, while I'm in that quality, it's almost like an insurance policy, It's sort of like I keep that portal of quality strong. That's what I focus on, and then I just whatever comes in, I'm like, "Okay." And then I sort of process it through that filter of the quality of love, and if it doesn't cut it, phew, discard,
It's
you know? And
interesting.
and you get better at, like, everything you're tuning into is coming through that frequency of the heart. And then it's transformative. That's why people are like, wow, you said just what I needed to hear at this moment. It's like, I'm not doing that.
It's
Trust me. You should see me in my own life. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing, right? It's like, I'm not some great being that knows all
yeah.
this stuff. I just know when I'm doing my work and I'm of service in this way, I know how to hold that frequency and
Mm,
keep it, sustain it
yeah.
so that what's coming in is filtered through that and it's in alignment with that.
Right. It's like when you're doing like hands-on healing. It's open.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
open to your God self or all that is or whatever, but the light's just coming in,
Exactly. Ex
you know?
You're absolutely right, Sue.
Yeah.
It's like a healing frequency, like when people do Reiki or whatever they do,
Yep.
and the person is there going, "How did you do that? You just, like, moved all this energy around, and you, like, transformed me from the inside out, and you're like a miracle worker, like a Christ." And the person's there going, "I don't know. I had a bad morning, you know?" Like, I don't know. I yelled at my kid, and I stepped on my
Yeah,
dog's tail and cut someone off driving here. I don't know. I'm not that great of a person. I just tuned in with you, right? And,
I
I
that's
just came totally. I came in humble, I came in real, intentional, hold that frequency of the heart, hold that portal open, divine service. We both get the gift. And
yeah,
then, you know, when the lights go off, when we stop rolling the camera, I'm back to me again.
yeah.
Like,
I, I
so
I was at a party once and a lady was talking about all these guides. She was naming them off, and someone was talking about, well, I do quantum healing hypnosis. And she turned to me in the room. Everybody looked in from the room, and she's like, well, who are your guides? And I said, I don't know. I just talked to myself. And everybody laughed, but I was serious. I didn't have a name.
Mhm.
I have no idea. It's just everybody, all that is. I believe, right? It's the
Mhm.
light that I want to talk about it, but it wasn't specific, you know.
Yeah, and you're right. And that's it is really potent for us to it's not us, but it's our ability to be an open channel that
Yep,
is in divine service,
that's the humility.
which that's the humility piece.
Yeah,
I'm just going to wrap up here because I have a reading coming on shortly.
yeah.
And I want to say that I noticed Leah had asked a question about her dad. And so let's just quickly tune in with her. Um,
The chat today. I don't know why.
yeah, great chat today.
Yeah, next time.
So that was on Thanksgiving.
Oh,
Um, okay. Interesting. So I've got the Eight of Pentacles working, a work in progress, the Five of Swords. Um, I feel like there's the message from your dad, Leah, is something about a work in progress, something that he started that he didn't finish. I don't know if it's the King of Swords. So I don't know if it was a book or an idea or a concept. So there's something that he almost like he didn't quite finish it.
yeah.
And there's no pressure on this. This isn't like you have to do something about it, but it's there's a feeling of continuity.
Oh,
He's going to be continuing the work he started through perhaps you or your children or grandchildren or something like that. There's a feeling of something that he doesn't he hasn't given up on something that he believed in, that he started and didn't finish. And so it's like he's going to be kind of carrying on is what I'm feeling. And that feels like that's what he wants you to know. So yeah,
oh.
that's that. So beautiful sharing this morning, this afternoon, wherever you are, and happy solstice to all of you. I'm going to be next week. Yeah, I'm going to be coming on to the live next week. Are you able to join me, Sue? Do we know that yet?
I'm not sure what days next Wednesday.
Gosh, I don't know. I don't have my
Oh,
calendar
it's
here.
Boxing Day. Well,
It's
because
box.
this is
No,
Monday, and
but
no, it's
Wednesday is the 27th, I think. Yeah.
amazing. I'll be
Yeah. You'll be where?
on properly.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Perfect. Awesome. I look forward to seeing you then. And we'll sign off for now, everybody. Have a beautiful Christmas and solstice week, and all blessings to you. Hang in there. Just go back over this live for inspiration about how we're all doing this together.
The best
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
Right on.
Mwah. Bye for now.